Boom shakalaka, what's up, what's up, what's up? Man, saw the front page of the Advertiser yesterday, and it was about this couple that I think they live and work in Chinatown, and they put up all these signs about, no sitting, no laying, stop doing drugs, and they put these signs all over Chinatown, and I went and started to read the comments of what people had to say about this article. And I don't talk a lot about the work that we do with the homeless. Um, we started a church mainly for homeless people to help raise them up to do things that Jesus said they could do. And man, every week I'm with the homeless. Um, we have them over to our house for Thanksgiving, Christmas. you know, we do movie nights. We do all kinds of things with the homeless, and so I think that gives a different perspective for us than you know. I think the government, not all of not everyone, because I know some guys who are working with the homeless in the government that don't seem like this, but by and large, they see them as numbers, not as people with names. And I think it's interesting when you look at the story of Jesus. When Jesus is talking about the rich man and Lazarus, do you think it's interesting at all that Jesus calls him the rich man? If you don't know his name, the poor guy his name was Lazarus, right? You know him by name. Isn't that interesting that Jesus uses the rich? Because in reality, the in society they probably all knew the rich man's name, and they called the poor guy the beggar or the homeless dude over there laying on the ground. I think it's interesting. Now, working with the homeless, I think you can't lump them all together in one in one category. And one guy said, I think we need to gather up the homeless, ship them off to Koho'olave, and put them through these work labor camps. I mean, I can remember another guy who said we need to take this group of people and gather them up and ship them off to labor camps. I mean, that dude was Hitler, and that was the Nazi party. I don't think that's the solution for homelessness in Hawaii is just ship people off to another island and put them through work camps. I mean, that's that's crazy. That won't work. So I think you need two things to help the homeless. I think you need uh, I think you need to surround them with community, and you need to give them work. But this is why I think that. Now, there was a study, they called it the rat park study, where they took a rat and they put him in isolation. They gave him an option of heroin water or water that was just regular water. In isolation, he would go choose the heroin water more than he chose the regular water. They take that same rat who everyone would say is an addict on the streets or whatever, right? They took that addicted rat and they put him in a community of healthy rats that are having fun, doing good things. All of a sudden, he stopped choosing heroin water, went back to regular water. And what they realized is the the problem wasn't necessarily drug addiction, it was community. And when he get in a healthy community that valued something differently, he stopped choosing jug water. And so I sit with the homeless. I mean, weekly I'm sitting with them, talking to them and finding out their stories. And I've looked at guys in the face and said, listen, the only reason you're doing this, sitting down here, drinking on the streets, doing all this stuff, is because you're bored and you don't have anything else to do with your life. Because this is what your community values. And they look me straight in the eye and say, yeah, absolutely, you're right. Right? So I think is creating a community that values something different that they want to be a part of. Now, if you could get housing, let's say you had a house that had room for 10 people, right? And have a community there that values something different. Because I sat with a guy, I mean, every week for years, who had a house, had money because he was a veteran, and he would choose to go and stay on the streets to be with his friends rather than go stay in his house. Why? Because he needed a community, right? Second thing, you need work. Now, everyone's like, these lazy homeless people, they're not working. I can tell you 100% of the homeless people that we work with, they have one problem in common. They've all had their IDs stolen, right? Now think what you need to do to get an ID, right? You got to go get a birth certificate. You got to get a social security card. You have to have an address to get that stuff sent to. And so, man, the way to get a job, the first thing you need is an ID, right? And so the process I've seen from deciding, okay, I want to get off the streets, to actually getting off the streets and getting a job, takes about a year and a half of work. I mean, so you got to be motivated to make that happen. So I think what you need is a community that works together. Now, the best program that I've seen in the country at doing this is Delancey Street, based out of San Francisco. So they take the worst of the worst of society. They've been addicted to drugs for over 20 years, been in prison an average of 10 years. And they take these guys that don't want to change, and after 2 years, they've changed, you know? And it's because they come together in a community, and the community works together. The rehabilitation all comes from working together, right? So you get there, you work in the restaurant, you start folding the napkins, right? So I think if you had a house that you could house 10 people in, you ran a business from that house, man, you would see a breakthrough in homelessness. So it's not grabbing them off the streets and just putting them into a room or a bed by themselves, right? Because they'll just leave that and they'll go back to their community, right? In the Bible, the way you help the poor is you give them jobs. But you have to have a job that they can actually go and do, because that's the key, right? They can't just go get jobs right now. You can't go up to a homeless dude and say, bro, you're lazy and you're ugly and you need to go get a job, right? It's like, great, thank you. What should I do? Right? If you don't have that for them to do, you're just wasting your time. So you need to have a job that they can go and do. I mean, in the Bible, they would leave the edge of their fields open, so if you wanted to work, you can come and get what you needed, right? So we need to have some sort of work that a homeless guy can do without an ID that would bring value to him, right? I mean, right now they can go and they can do recycling, right? So they got to go dig through the garbage and find bottles and cans, which is great. A lot of them get money that way. But what's another type of business that you can run in a community that values something different, that would give you a livable wage? And that's what you have to think through, right? So I think those are two things that will help the homelessness. I don't think shipping them off like Nazis to labor camps will ever do anything. So what do you guys think? Let me know down below. I know it's a hot topic, but I wanted to give you my opinion on the thing.